Welcome to the Deadlifts and Pizza podcast, where we discuss no BS fitness and nutrition.
We're your hosts. I'm Laura.
And I'm Jamie.
Let's get into it.
Hi.
Hi.
Random thought. You know what food is like, I feel like very underrated? Like, people don't talk about it. People don't talk about this food. And it's not a health food by any means. It's very much a snack food. It's not high protein. But I feel like it doesn't get credit for being as delicious as it is. Like, you hear about Oreos. Like, everybody knows Oreos are the bomb. Like, you hear about cookies. Like, everybody knows, like, generally cookies are delicious, right? But this food is so good and nobody talks about it. And it's extremely basic.
I don't know.
No guesses?
No.
It's graham crackers. Graham crackers.
I'm not a huge graham cracker person.
When's the last time you had a graham cracker?
When I had a s'more, I use them in
just
s'mores.
plain like honey graham crackers, and you take a bite and you're like,
holy
shit, that is good.
You see, like I avoid all those foods. Like I don't.
Yeah.
I don't. It's not worth it to me to eat. So I just. It's not good enough for the calories.
You know, generally I'm with you, but I bought them because my son loves graham crackers, and I forgot he loved graham crackers, and I'm in like a rut with his lunches and snacks. He's coming home and like not eating stuff, and it's annoying me. So I was at the grocery store and I was like, what can I put in this child's lunch that he'll eat? And I saw the graham crackers. I was like, oh my God, I forgot he loves graham crackers. Not as like a main food by any means, but I got them. And then I was looking at the box and I was like, I love graham crackers. And so I took one out and I took a bite and I was like, holy crap, that's really good. So now like every morning when I get a cup of coffee, I've been getting these one little half a sheet, 2 little crackers of graham crackers. And it is so enjoyable.
They're fine.
And it's not that much calories for just these 2 little things. It's like 30 calories.
Yeah, it's just not worth it to me. I don't know. They're not that
but
good.
You'd have like half of a large apple for 30 calories. So I mean, I get it, but they're so good.
Okay.
They're very good. So that's what I got. The deliciousness of graham crackers, very much so.
Yeah.
I have some other minor, they're major to me. I had my black belt test this weekend.
Oh, how was that?
It was good. It was really good. Taekwondo black belt test, but the story that I want to tell is, so essentially it's set up in this like giant, it's like an arena, and it's like Korea, right? Like my master speaks English and he's Korean, but when you go to test, you have to go to like where all the Koreans go to test. It's mostly kids. It's like 500, 600, 700 kids. And then like a grouping of adults. And first you go and you do your form, and you have to do 2 random form, whatever they tell you to do. And you have to do it perfectly in front of the judges. And then you go over to the sparring. And I watched my son test, and I watched my friend who's an adult test. And what I gathered from the sparring portion is that the people setting it up, they pretty much will look at the group coming over and match people up based on stature. So even with the kids, they'll find a kid that's a similar stature to them and like pair them up. And so when I was going over I noticed when I was in line to do this entire thing that there was a number of adults, but there was 4 women total. There was me. There was a Korean woman who was associated with a random school. She was just there. And like I was with a random school. It was just me for my school. And then this Korean woman who was pretty similar stature to me. She was small. She was petite. And then there was 2 other women who were together from a specific school. They had the same uniform on from the same school. And they were probably 4 inches taller than me ish, 2 to 4 inches taller than me, and a lot bigger than me. Like they were pretty big women. Like they were big women.
Yeah.
I don't know how to say it. They were like big. So if I weigh like 130, they probably were 200 plus pounds. Which is fine. I wasn't judging that at all. But what I did instantly do when I saw us, I was like, oh, those 2 are going to be together. They're from the same school. They're very similar build. And I'm going to be with this Korean woman. Like I knew it. I knew it. So I was like watching this woman like do her form. I was watching her everything. I was like, I'm going to be sparring with this woman. So I get up to the thing to do the sparring, and the guys come over to me and they're going, partner, because they like to keep the schools together too. They'll be like, okay, you're together. And I was like, no partner. And they're like, no partner. So he starts looking around, and I'm just waiting for him to identify the Korean woman and pair us. And one of these other 2 women comes up behind me. shoulder to shoulder, leans in over my shoulder and says to the man, partner, and like gestures the two of us. And I kind of like shockingly looked back at her and I was like, oh, and I don't know what I said. I said something like, you're choosing me. Like, I don't know. I said something like that. And then I was like, shit, what the, what the heck? And so I go to spar with this. I was like, she probably,
they probably got together and they were like, okay, we're gonna pounce on these two little
you
ones
take her
over
down.
here.
I'll take her down.
Exactly.
And dude, this woman, it's like you get into your stance. So you have to stand normal facing, dead facing the person. You have to bow and then you slightly turn and you get your stance ready. And then they like do the thing that signals like the start of the thing. And she came at me like, I, like big kicks, yelling, and like she didn't kick me, but I was like shuffling backwards because it surprised me. It was like 3 kicks in a row. She didn't even stop to see if the first one landed before she was throwing another one. And I'm just like shuffling back and I shuffled off of the mat. And so the guy like put his hand between us and brought us back center. And I only had like a millisecond to process like, okay, she's going to come at me again. And I need to like be ready. So she did it again. I, with these crazy, like some of them were just like regular kicks, but she tried to crescent hook like my head where like you bring your foot up in like a half moon arc and trying to hit somebody's head from the front. And I literally just dodged every one of her kicks or low blocked. Like it was actually pretty predictable. I blocked every single kick. And then I kind of channeled my inner like master Nas, my master. And I remember watching him spar with my friend who's a guy. And the thing that he does that's very, I guess this is like professional status, is you get really close to the person. You actually don't want to be far away from them because that's how when they extend their leg, they can hit you. So if you get really close to them, they can't kick you. They can kick their legs in the air, but they won't be landing anything. So I just like threw my body up against her shoulder and I was like leaning into her shoulder, and wherever she went, I stayed. And then as soon as she tried to kick and she landed her foot back down on the ground, I just jumped back and like roundhoused her real quick. So I just kept doing that. I'd jump back roundhouse and then like lean in. And then I'd wait for her to do her like little maniac stuff. And I would like kind of dodge her crescent kicks. And then I'd jump back roundhouse or like jump back. Or I don't know. I would do a couple. It was like doing basic kicks, but I wasn't doing anything fancy. And I know my master wanted to see me do fancy stuff, but I was like, I can't do fancy things. I need to just like figure out how to keep this woman from like kicking me off of the mat.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was actually really, and then it ended. It was literally like 20 seconds long. Like the matches are so short, like 20, 30 seconds maybe. And then it ended. And maybe she landed a kick or two, but I swear she didn't really even kick me. Like I blocked every single one.
That's awesome.
But oh my God, it was so, I walked off of the mat and he goes, KO? I was like, no, dude, did you see? No.
I was going to say, he's going to be disappointed.
Out.
You didn't kick somebody across the room.
Yeah. I was like, that's not fair because my friend who did the KO was paired with like a lanky teenage boy.
Yeah.
I was like, I would. And then when I watched the video, because my husband took a video, but he did one of those things where in the middle of the video, the entire camera drifts down to the ground and you can't actually see anything in the video. And he's like, sorry, babe, I was just really into it.
Yeah.
But when he's drifting, you can see the other people sparring and you can see that Korean woman that I should have been paired with. And she was paired with that other American woman. And she was like, I was like, man, I wish I'd have gotten her. Like you could tell she doesn't really spar. So she was just like kicking almost like childlike. I was like, dang.
But see, like it's better to go against somebody who's you can like that can make you better.
You don't want to say better, but it is like kind of better in a way. Like she was definitely maybe stronger, if not for just like the body weight she was putting behind it alone. But yeah, it definitely challenged me.
Yeah, I don't mean better than you. I just mean someone who can challenge you so that you get better.
Yeah, somebody challenging. It was it was very interesting. It was one of those things where when I was done, I was just kind of stunned. I was like, what just happened?
So
did I really I'm assuming I did. I did everything well. Like I didn't make any mistakes. It's pretty easy to pass, I think, generally. I think as long as you don't make any obvious, really bad mistakes. I remember he got the list for when my son tested. When they got the list of everybody who passed and failed, they just got an entire list of everybody and it said pass, fail, pass, fail. And there was literally one person out of like 500 people that didn't pass. And there was definitely people, I was watching them being like, are you going to pass? So I'll find out officially.
That's cool.
Probably like another week. Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. Anything new with you?
No. Last weekend was our anniversary, so we
Aw, happy
celebrated that.
anniversary.
Thank you. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. But nothing like interesting to talk about with it.
Yeah. You
No.
didn't spar against somebody twice your size over the weekend?
No, didn't do
Okay.
that. Nope.
You should try to do that more often because I would like to hear that story.
I don't know how it would be at that. Not sure. If it was a jumping contest,
Yes,
that would
I
be
was just thinking.
like that I could win.
Oh my God, that was so ridiculous. Did we talk about that yet?
Yeah, we did. We did.
Oh, you look like you're floating.
Yeah. I
Got any
did
topics?
well, I was going to say I changed my workouts for next week. I haven't done it
Me
yet. I don't
too.
know. Did
I
you?
haven't been doing anything, so it's a big change.
Oh. No, I I don't know if I want to do it next week or the week after. I might extend this for a week. I'm a little tuckered out, and I don't know if I want to try this when I'm already tired because it's going to be hard. Um, but we've talked about how, like in a cut, I like to do things that maybe like work on skills that I might not be as good at, or work on things that I can get better at, because it's the best time to do it. Because when I'm eating more food,
Yeah.
I want to do the things that I'm good at. So I'm going to want to lift really heavy and do all that stuff. And I'm not going to want to work as much on these things. But right now, it's like the best time to do it because I can't really get too much stronger on the other stuff that I'm already good at. Does that make sense? So
Yeah.
work on things that I need help with. So one of them is work capacity, because at the end of my workouts I'm so tired and I can only handle so much, and then I like drop off. So that's why I don't like doing like upper lower or anything like that. Like I like doing full body because I don't get as tired by the end. If I do like legs, I'm exhausted. um and then the other thing I need to work on is being able to take shorter breaks in between exercises, like being able to switch from one to the other, because I can't do that very well either. And work capacity just means like your ability, like how much work you can handle, obviously. So being able to handle more work, you could think about it through like the week or each workout. I'm thinking more like each workout, but not just handle more work, but handle more work at a high level. So being able to give each exercise a lot of effort. So you could think of it like say like a football player, if they were able to perform really high, like at a really high level, the first two quarters, so like the first half of the game, they were like, awesome. And then the second half of the game, their performance kind of dropped. That probably means that they need to work on their work capacity, because they are able to perform at that high level, but only for a certain amount of time. And then it drops. So like being able to perform at a high level for a longer time.
I'm curious as to how you're going to improve that, like what you're going to do specifically. You're going to tell me, right?
Yes. So, so I'm going to do 3 full body workouts, and then do HIIT and power in between. So I haven't done HIIT, like haven't actually programmed HIIT where I'm doing it like consistently. So that'll be a change. The power is, I like doing that. So I'm just keeping that in there almost every time, because I want to that helps me jump higher. I want to be able to jump higher and do all that. So, so that's always fun. I enjoy the power workouts. But on my regular workout days, I'm going to do a strength exercise first for all of them. But then on certain days, I'm going to do, actually, I think only one day. One day I'm going to do escalated density training. So that I've only done that like once, and it wasn't for very long. It was like a week or two, and then I was like, nope, I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
I wasn't mentally ready for it. I don't think this time I'm mentally ready for it. But escalated density training is where you pick 2 exercises that you're going to do back to back for 15 minutes straight. And they should be opposing muscles, or like upper lower. It shouldn't be like, you shouldn't be doing anything that's training a similar muscle group or anything like that. So I'm doing for one of them bench press and assisted pull-ups. So what you do is you pick a weight for the assisted pull-ups, obviously not picking a weight, but you pick a weight that you could maybe do like 10 reps with, and you're only going to do 5. So you'll do 5 reps but you're doing them back to back and you're not taking any rest. I mean, you can take a rest. You can take a break if you need it, but it's no scheduled breaks. You should go from one to
Yeah.
the other as much as possible. And by the end of it, you might only be doing 1 rep of each exercise because you're going to be exhausted. And the goal is to, so at the end, what you're going to do is count the total amount of reps that you did in that 15 minutes. And then the next time, the goal is to try to beat that. So if you did 40 reps, next time try to do like 42. I don't know, whatever it is. And
Very
so it gives you
interesting.
like a fun thing, like to try to beat each time. Yeah, so that should be fun. Not really.
So you're going to do that kind of almost like superset deal, like that 15-minute chunk after your strength exercise, your strength lift
Yes.
on all 3 days?
No, that's only going to be one day. So it's going to be Wednesday. So I'm going to do that. So I'm going to do 2 of them. So I'm doing a bench. What's the other one? I think I'm doing a heels elevated goblet squat and a barbell Romanian deadlift. So I'm going to do those back to back.
That's cool.
Yeah. And then the other days I'm doing, it's called 6-12-25, like the 6-12-25 training method, which is where you pick 3 exercises, this time training the same muscles. And you do them back to back, but in different rep ranges. So you're hitting all, like you're going to hit 6 reps, 12 reps, 25 reps. So you're going to hit like, all of your muscle fibers by training this way, right? So for the 6, you want to pick something that is, something you can do heavy that you're working on your strength. And then you'll do 12 with a different exercise in 25. So it could be like, if you're working on your quads, it might be like a back squat and then a Bulgarian split squat. That would suck really bad.
Yeah.
And then like a leg extension or something. So something like that. So you do 6 of the back squat, 12 of the Bulgarian split squat, and then 25 of the leg extension. Yeah.
Cool.
So I'm doing a couple of those on the other days.
Yeah. How many exercises each day is it going to be?
2, 3, 6, like 7 on those days probably, because I'm doing like a strength exercise. Maybe 8. I don't know, because I'm doing pull-ups too. And then I think the other thing I'm going to do is work on my core, like in between, like how I do my pull-ups randomly throughout the day. I will probably work on my core doing that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how I want to is just making me think about the squad. So the squad's the small group training program, and I've got all these programs in there. A lot of them that you've written, and some obviously that I've written. And then so I'm just thinking like big picture about how I want it to look. And I know other people who have group training models are always releasing new workouts or new programs or new things to do. And so when you're coming in brand new, you might just hop onto whatever like they're releasing at that time. But
Yeah.
I don't like that for a number of reasons. But the one of the reasons is that you don't really need to be doing something completely different every single month or every single 6 weeks for the rest of your life. Like it, not only that, but you can take a basic like plan and just change out the main exercise and have it be like different but the same, right? So I'm thinking about how, and it's also overwhelming. You come in and there's just like so many things you don't really know. So the way that I generally want it to look is we have that standard MMP3 or MMP4. It's like the standard 3-day a week, 4-day a week, upper, lower, full body. And it goes out, I think, for a lot of cycles. And I've been adding cycles to it, but I want to go back and edit it, each cycle of it to be very customizable. So it's like you can do a back squat, or you can do a Bulgarian split squat, or you could literally run cycles back to back and just change out the exercises you do, but they'll be in the same movement pattern. So it'll be the same, but like different enough. And then just have different programs that do different fun things. And you don't necessarily need to do cycles 1 through 4. So for example, if there was an escalated density, it could be individual workouts that you could throw in, or it could be a program that includes these things. And that way you could do like a couple cycles of this and be like, I need something different. I need something new, and pop over to this one and do it. And then even if you end up stopping and going back to the one you were doing before, you could trade out the exercises to make it different enough. And I think that would be like the perfect, you maybe have 10 programs total, maybe 10 to 15 that you could choose from at any given time. And you can adjust them based on what you're in the mood to do, but the core of it stays kind of the same. You know what I mean?
So
Does that seem like a good way to do it?
instead of adding like new programs every month.
Yeah, like here's a new one, here's a new one, here's a new one. You don't necessarily need to. I could just spend, there's still some I want to add to the collection overall. But yeah, not necessarily adding all of the time. Maybe just like going back and tweaking things and editing things to make them. So kind of like when you hear about maps, the maps programs, they do have a lot of programs. But for the most part, when people call into their show and stuff like Mind Pump, they'll say like, oh yeah, run this one and then run this one and then run this one and then go back and run this one again. And when you look at their programs, it'll be like, for this section, pick, a bicep exercise, pick a tricep exercise. So it's technically inherently different every time you go to do it, but the structure of it stays the same. And I like that. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
just like, hey, go run 3 cycles of this and then go do this. Like if you're bored, there's an escalated density in there, or there's a 5-3-1, or there's a 5x5 strong lifts. Like there's different things that you could do if you really want to switch it up completely. And then, go back to the standard or whatever. But that basic idea. Mm-hmm.
I like, I don't know. I like variety. So I like adding, I like doing new stuff all the time. So,
but having and I'm with you, but having the variety built in, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And like, is there a cap on variety? I don't know. Maybe it could also be, so like, let's say there's a program that's like 5x5 and one that's like escalated density training. What's the new one you said? The 6-12 something?
6-12-25.
6-12-25. There's other ones that are named with like numbers. Maybe you could have days also, just individual workout days. So if somebody's like, I'm programmed out, I just kind of want to do fun stuff. It's like, go grab a day from the random, and there's a variety. So like there's variety built in to the structure without there having to be every single month something new that just literally piles up over years. And then when somebody comes in, it's like, oh, the February of 2021 workout program. Like, what? I don't know. It's more like clear cut.
I can imagine if you've been doing it for years and there's like 36 programs in there, that'd get insane. Yeah. And it overwhelming when people go in and don't know what to do. Yeah.
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 Cool.
I have other things if you don't have anything.
Go for it.
Okay, so this is gonna be short, but I feel like those people on Instagram that, by the way, it bothers me when people do this. Not bothers me, it's just not my jam, because I like positivity. And so when people take people's reels and they like criticize what they're saying in the reel and whatever, I feel like I've become that person with other podcasts. Like,
that's so funny. Really?
I listen to other podcasts and like, well, that's wrong. Like I just hear, and then I bring it here and I talk about it. It's like I've become
so funny.
A podcaster who comments on other people's podcasts.
And I have not been listening to podcasts. I have been still just hyper obsessed with my books, but go ahead.
Oh, that's good. It's better. I hadn't listened to podcasts in a while, and I was folding laundry, and I didn't want to find a podcast to listen to. And Spotify just started playing a random one that I thought I would like, I think, because I don't know, all of a sudden this random one started playing, and I'm like, I don't know what this is, but sure, I'll listen to it and give it a chance, right? So it was like a doctor interviewing. The doctor was a host, and he was interviewing another guy who I think was also a doctor, and he and as he was talking, like I kind of already had the feeling that I probably wasn't going to like him, but I didn't know why. Do you ever have that feeling?
Yes.
Like I just usually like a good judge of character of So I'm listening to him, but nothing he said was like it was just, I don't know what it was. There was something off-putting about him, and he kept talking, whatever. There was nothing that he said that was, off-putting. I don't know what it was. I don't know what it was.
Yeah.
But then he was talking about how he's like evidence-based, everything he does is evidence-based, and there's so many people out there who aren't evidence-based, and he's like calling them out. So he's calling them out, and then I'm going to call him out. It's going to be like a trail. So he was talking about they got onto the subject of it was only like 15 minutes in, so I didn't listen to this whole thing because then I shut it off after this. But they got to they were talking about Peter Attia, who I've brought up on here before, the longevity specialist guy. And I don't know him very well. Like I just started looking more into his stuff. But everything that I've seen from him, like there's nothing, like he doesn't how do I say it? Like he's not one of those ones that like my alarm bells go off when I listen to him,
Yeah.
right? Because he doesn't talk in extremes. He talks in nuances and like all of the stuff that we've talked about before, where I might not agree with everything he says, but he always like, well, it could be this or this. He's never like, there's nothing wrong that I've found with him, right? So I'm like, I'm
Yeah.
wondering what this guy is going to say that he said. So he was like, yeah, like he was asking him about him and he was saying how, you've praised him, but you've also criticized him. And he's like, yeah, I read his book and there's so much good stuff in his book, but there's also outrageous things that are outrageous. And he was like, and he was like, like one of the outrageous statements he made is that everyone needs to eat a gram of protein per pound of body weight. That's an outrageous amount of protein. You're telling me that a 160-pound person needs to eat 160 grams of protein? And he's like, you only need like half of that. And then that exhale.
So this was the guy he was interviewing? This wasn't the doctor? This was the other guy?
Yeah, this is the guy he was interviewing. Then the guy who was interviewing him was like, yeah, and it could be bad for your kidneys if you have too much. And he's like, yeah, but then this and that. And I'm like, evidence-based.
Yeah.
Can you show me your evidence of what you are saying right now? And then I figured it out because I'm like, okay, for me, if I eat a gram of protein per pound of body weight, it's like 25 to 28% of my calories. Like you're telling me that's too much. That's outrageous to eat 25% of my calories from protein. But if I was going to eat half of that, it's 12. It's 12. Yeah. So you're saying that I should get 78% of my calories from from carbs and fats? That's outrageous. Like what in the world?
But also I just wonder what, like, is he talking as if, because again, nuance, 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight is like a general recommendation. But if somebody is pretty overweight, then that doesn't need to be what it is. So like, there's people that are my height that are 200 pounds that shouldn't be eating 200, or don't need to be. It's not, 200 grams of protein. So like, where is he coming from in his mind? Is he talking about like a fairly lean person?
I don't know.
160-pound man should, eat 160 grams of protein. That sounds reasonable. But if I weighed 160 would be a lot.
But I'm pretty sure, I don't know if he says it, but I'm pretty sure he would say, Peter Attia would say, your ideal body weight, not your actual. That's what most people say. If you're overweight, you don't go by that. You go by what your ideal body weight is. And then I did I did a TDE calculator, EE calculator for a 160 pound man. And it came out to the same thing. Like if they were moderately active, which Peter Attia wants you to exercise. So this should be people that are moderately active who are following this advice. And it was the same thing. It was 12% would be half of what, 160, 80 grams would be 12%. That's what I wonder, like,
if this Peter Attia wrote a book and had a section about protein in the book, there's no way that entire section was limited to one sentence, which is everybody should eat 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. But this person, that is what they took from it.
Yeah.
And it's outrageous, I tell you.
It's outrageous. It's outrageous that you say you're evidence-based and that we should, like, people are going to listen to that and be like, he's a doctor. Yeah. Although I had a lot of hope because because after I listened to that, I shut it off right after that. I went to the comments and I'm like, hopefully people know that this isn't right. Almost all the comments were like, yeah, that's wrong.
Okay. Yeah.
So I was like, okay.
That's good.
These people aren't dumb. Yeah.
That's interesting. Speaking of things that are maybe conflicting, not necessarily people making outrageous comments, but I was reading a research review.
Okay.
That came out, and it was on time restricted eating, intermittent fasting.
Okay.
I'm going to do the same thing where I kind of set it up and I ask you what you think.
Okay.
What you think the result was. But I'm going to ask you a very specific result. So it was a pretty small study. It was 10 men and 7 women.
Okay.
And they divided them up randomly into time restricted eating in an 8-hour window, I don't actually know which times they started and stopped. They all were also strength training supervised. So they were already active people. And then, so the time restricted eating group, so they ate in an 8-hour window. And then the other group ate the same amount of calories for their, body mass, whatever, but in a 12-hour window. So they could start eating in the beginning of the day and end eating whatever, but the calories were matched. Protein was optimized, so it was at an optimal level. And they had them eating more, 10% surplus. So they were eating a slight surplus of calories. So the goal was to actually gain weight, but they were eating it in a time restricted fashion and a fed fashion, and wanted to compare the lean mass gains. They wanted to compare the lean mass gains, the fat mass gains, because it was assumed that they would gain because they're eating 10% more calories, and also the strength gains, right? And like hypertrophy lean mass gains. My question to you, Laura, is what do you think the body composition changes were? Do you think they were statistically insignificant between lean mass gain and fat? Or do you think that there was a difference somewhere between the time restricted eating and the fed and eating throughout the day?
And it was randomized, like women and men. Like it wasn't like all women in one group, all men in another group, or anything.
That part I have to go through the study again and see, because I actually wondered about that, and then I forgot I was wondering before we started this podcast. So I'm actually not sure. I know assuming. It was 10 men and 7 women total, and they randomized them. I would assume they were pretty evenly split. Okay. They wouldn't put all 7 women in one group and 10 in another and not fix that. So
yeah. Well, what I feel like what should be seen is that there is no statistical difference. It's such a small amount of people, though. It's hard to,
Yeah.
So that would be what I think it should say.
Yeah. So lean mass gain was not statistically significantly different. So they were pretty much the same. But the fat mass gain was actually a lot more in the fed group, the one that was not time restricted eating. So the group that was eating all 12 hours of the day gained about, on average, 3 pounds of fat mass, and the other group gained about 1 pound of fat mass.
So they gained more weight overall. If there was no lean mass difference.
Right. It was, pretty much. Yep. And they were all going to gain, right? But the group that was time restricted eating didn't gain as much.
Okay. But it's such a small amount of people.
Yeah.
Like it could be like, also did they actually, were they in like a lab where somebody was giving them the food?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Because if they were doing it on their own, if you're eating at different times through the day, you're more likely to mess up and eat a little bit more than that time restricted feeding time. So there's so many things to look at there.
Yeah, room for error. Yeah, for sure.
And it conflicts with a lot of other studies that show that there is no difference.
Right. Well, and this is where I'd have to look a little bit more. Apparently there are some other studies that kind of support the general idea that eating in a smaller window might help preserve, it's not about lean mass, it's more about fat mass. Like there were some other studies that seem to maybe kind of align. It's not enough. It still ended with we need more research, but this is interesting. Kind of like this is an interesting finding about how eating in the smaller window might prevent some fat mass gain.
I feel like it's I don't know. I'd have to look at how though, why, because I feel like it's just because people are eating less calories, and if they aren't actually in a lab where they're giving them the food and they know exactly how much they're eating, then it's hard to actually know if that's true or not. Yeah.
Is it when you're eating in that smaller window, it's easier to be consistent. It's easier to be accurate with those calories. Whereas if you're eating over a longer period of time, it's easier too. So how was that? Subjects were well trained, engaged in remote communication with a dietitian weekly to receive guidance and to bolster compliance. Subjects were assigned to weigh and track their intake. Protein was set at 2.2 grams per kilogram. All resistance training sessions were supervised. So it seems like it was not in a lab. it was up to them, and they were weighing and tracking.
Well, that would conflict with what Stacy Sim says.
Ah, yes, of course. So that's part of it, is that like we have these studies that show and prove these specific things, but then they show and prove these other things. And
yeah,
you know, I've seen studies that show that putting a woman, putting her body through a, you know, restricted phase where you're not eating, like some sort of fasting, whether it's in the morning or definitely like all day and stuff like that, it shows changes in hormone response. And it might not be a good idea, but maybe for some women it ends up being fine, and their hormone response isn't as strong, or it doesn't affect them in the same way. Or or like what if the person has a strong hormone response, and it maybe throws their hormones off balance, but they were overweight enough that even having that structure helped them to lose weight, which maybe their weight was a limiting factor in their health. And once they get back to eating normally, maybe their hormones will be a little bit more optimized in that stage of life. And maybe that little off balance was maybe worth it, because they actually were able to lose weight. So you start to look at it like, maybe that's true, but also this is true. You know what I mean? In certain situations.
It's the same thing. It's individualized. Everybody's going to be different. Yeah. I don't do well when I do that. Well, I work out in the mornings. That may be part of it, but I don't do well with fasting.
Yeah.
It messes me up.
Yeah, so it depends on where I am in life. But yeah. You didn't agree with her 2 podcasts ago.
Well, the other stuff she said.
Yeah. That's funny.
Yeah.
All right, short pod again today. We're going to do another one, right? Okay. Yep. Awesome. Thanks for listening. If you like this, leave a comment, 5-star review. We'd appreciate it so much. And we'll see you next week.
Bye.